With Ben McKee, Brent Hubbs, Volquest.com, we go around the horn in the ever popular 27-2 win as Tennessee takes game one in Starkville, Mississippi. Ben joins us from Starkville, Mississippi. And Ben, this was a no-brainer from the first three back-to-back-to-back home runs that Tennessee hit in the first inning. It was over from that point.
It sure was, and it felt like the game was over at that point because Mississippi State's a bad baseball team, but I did not anticipate 27 runs taking place tonight. It's the most ever under Tony Vitello in an SEC game. It's the second most in an SEC game in the history of the program. The '98 team scored 28 runs against Georgia. That's the record, but it is the highest margin of victory for Tennessee in an SEC game. The worst loss for Mississippi State in SEC history. The most runs they've given up, I believe, since 1943, I believe. A lot of firsts and a lot of beautiful stats if you are a Tennessee fan, a lot of ugly stats if you're a Mississippi State fan. And I don't know what's more impressive, the scoreboard at the end of the game or the couple of Mississippi State fans that were sitting around here at the end of the game.
Yeah, that's pretty stout if you're staying around at the end. I'm assuming that's somebody's parents that were staying at the end watching that game here. I don't know that I've ever seen a pitcher have to give up an opportunity for a no-hitter because his team was too good at the plate and the inning went too long, that basically it took Jace Dolander out of the game. How fantastic was he tonight, though? 6 innings, 1 walk, 6 Ks, no hits, 67 pitches. There's dealing, and then there's dealing, and he was dealing tonight.
Yes, he was shoving is what he was doing. He was amazing. That was the pitcher that Tennessee envisioned they were getting when he committed before they left for Omaha last year, when he committed to transfer from Georgia Southern. He told me after the game he finally had his slider going. He was pretty excited that his slider was working tonight, and fastball is always dominated. If he has a slider on like he did tonight, then it's just lights out for the opponent. Tony told me after the game, Tony Vitello, that it was a little annoying that they had to pull him from the no-hitter, as you said, because the offense scored 7 runs in the 7th inning, and they just weren't going to bring him back out there, and they made the right decision. It stinks. It's unfortunate. He was only at 67 pitches. He definitely could have gone back out there from a pitch count standpoint, but the layoff in between innings, him still technically working his way back from being struck by that line drive, postseason beginning next week, just no need to risk it. And Tony Vitello said that Chase even kind of messed himself up a little bit when he would have to come down here and throw, and that he maybe threw too much, or he had to come down here twice and throw, and just it was just weird. It was just weird, and no need to risk a potential injury in those situations. So he was awesome, and Brent, I think he's the best pitcher in the country. I really do. He's being talked about as a top 5 pick in his draft after next season. And he has the best stuff, as good a stuff as anybody in the country. And now he's really coming in to this prospect that everybody thought that he could be, that Tennessee thought that he could be. And right now, today, good luck finding a better starting pitcher in the country than Chase Dolander. And that's why you've seen him start the past 2 series openers. And that's why I think you'll continue to see him throughout the postseason be the guy that they lean on, whether it be to start a series or in a must-win game. He's going to be the guy that they lean on.
Yeah, you just like his mentality, Ben. I mean, you know what I mean? He tells you tonight, hey, I finally got my slider. I don't think many people would have thought that his slider had been bad all year where he's been at. But he's a guy that just exudes a lot of confidence without any animation at all. It's a very business-like approach, but you just don't have the sense that anything bothers him, and that he's rattled or worried about anything. I mean, it's just – he oozes confidence from the moment he grabs the baseball in the first inning.
Yes, and I joked with him tonight that he was walking around on the mound like he's Conor McGregor. He got a nice little strut to him. Maybe not as flamboyant with the arms, but the way he's just a business-like strut around the mound. I mean, it was like Ric Flair walking around a wrestling ring, and he got a kick out of that. And I asked him about where his confidence is right now, and he said it's at an all-time high. It's quite evident. Say what you will about Mississippi State, the baseball team, their pitching staff is why they are going to miss Hoover and why after tonight they're last in the SEC. But that lineup can hit. That lineup can absolutely hit. They can hit for power, and Chase Dolander made them look silly, just like he did last week against the good Georgia lineup. We had the same conversation, making a good lineup look silly. Chase Dolander did it again tonight. And again, I stand by what I said. I think he's right now the best pitcher in the country.
While Dolander was great, Tennessee obviously took advantage of a Mississippi State pitching staff that has got tons of struggles and tons of issues. They ran everybody they had out there, it seemed like, and couldn't do anything with it. Tennessee was 7 home runs, 7 doubles tonight. Ortega's 5 of 7, 2 home runs, 2 doubles, 8 RBIs. I mean, it was feast time at the plate for Tennessee. That's a good thing as you start to round yourself into postseason play. A lot of guys got really involved, got going. Still a little bit worried about where Jordan Beck is right now, Ben. I mean, I know he hit the home run in the first inning, but a couple strikeouts late. Looks like he's not seeing the ball as well as he needs to right now. Is there concern about just what do we got to do to get him back on track, or is it's Jordan Beck will be all right?
I mean, it's something worth noting for sure. His second to last strikeout was I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. It wasn't good. I mean, he watched the fastball right down the middle, I believe, from where I could tell from my seat that I had to come up with because I cannot see the plate from the press box. That's a whole separate conversation. And in fact, by the time I made it back up to the press box, I didn't even see his final strikeout. I know that he did strike out. I did not see it, though. The stats told me. I literally can't see home plate from my seat in the press box. Can't see third base. Can barely see the pitcher. Can't see center field or left field. So I had to come down here and sit amongst the great Tennessee fans that were here tonight. So, sure. I mean, you never want to see your 3-hole hitter take a fastball down the middle in a full count. But I think his struggles have maybe been over-exaggerated per se. Statistically, his numbers do not look good. And I wrote about this in the 3-2-1 on Monday. One hit over the last 2 weekends before tonight. But he was walking. He was seeing a lot of pitches. He was fouling pitches off. He was still seeing the ball well, and he had hit into some outs. So I'm not as concerned as maybe his stats may indicate at the moment.
All right, last thing, we'll let you go and get ready for game 2 tomorrow. I mean, if you're Tennessee, is it hard to come back to the ball yard mentally locked in and after a 27-2 win? I mean, this was a game State had to win to try to get into Hoover. They don't have anything to play for now. Tennessee really doesn't have anything to play for now. They've wrapped up the top seeds and everything that they're looking for. They're going to host in regional play. They would host in a super regional. They're the number 1 seed going into Hoover. How do you expect this team to mentally be ready to go tomorrow? What does this team need to set out? What are the outside of winning? What are the things to accomplish for this team in the next 2 games in this series?
I want to see Chase Burns and Drew Beam look like the Chase Burns and Drew Beam that we saw the first half of the season and well past the halfway mark of the season. Burns will start tomorrow night. Beam will start on Saturday in the series finale. And I want to see those guys get back on track. It's funny. Tonight feels like Tennessee just completely ended Mississippi State, but it's 1 game of 3 games this weekend. And it's baseball. They'll probably come out and score 2 runs on 4 hits tomorrow night because that's how baseball tends to work. And Mississippi State, they can come out and score 30 runs tomorrow. That's what Jarrell Ortega told me, that they've got to have the mindset of, okay, be happy going to bed that we won, but wake up as if we lost. That way they still have that same hunger. But school's done, Brent. It's going to be in the 90s. And, yeah, it's not always fun to be in the heat, but it's better to play baseball in the heat than the cold. The ball flies off the bat much better, as we've seen not only tonight, but in the midweek game against Belmont. So all of those circumstances, and they didn't have anything to play for tonight, and they still came out and won 27-2 on the road. And I think they're just having fun. I think they're just enjoying themselves this weekend. They know that there's nothing to play for, but they're harnessing it in a good way, in the sense of let's just go out there, have fun, and play baseball. And when those guys do that, results like tonight happen.
Well, they were dominant in a lot of fronts, so we'll see if Tennessee can get the rest of the pitching staff going. We know who the ace on this staff is. That's clearly defined. Chase Dolander was terrific in this outing. Tennessee's bats were explosive in a 27-2. That's right, 27-2 win, Tennessee, in game 1 of this 3-game series. We'll have full coverage of game 2 and game 3 from Starkville with Ben McKee. I'm Brent Hubbs. You've been around the horn on this Thursday night.